everybody, I'm Elisa. I'm back, and we are talking about the female reproductive tract system. And this time we are going to talk about the uterus. So, the uterus is a thick muscular chamber that opens into the roof of the vagina. That's one way to put it. So, it usually tilts forward over the urinary bladder and is suspended by said urinary bladder and peritoneum. When an individual is pregnant, it does harbor the fetus, which supplies as a source of nutrition, protection, heat. It expels the fetus at the end of its development, little something we like to call labor and delivery. Some people feel that it is a pear-shaped organ. I've also heard cowhead, funny enough, which has a fundus, broad superior curvature right there. The body is like the middle portion, and then it thins down to a cervix at the bottom or at the most inferior, right? So it's inferior, and this is superior, right? So fundus, body, and then like cervical region and cervix proper. Okay. The lumen is roughly like lumen meaning like the inside, right? So it's like here's, it's kind of your cervix down here is like, and then it goes like this is what they're trying to say. So here's like the inside. They say it's like roughly triangular, and then also right coming in from this. That's like terrible, but it's pretty close. Okay, the upper two corners are going to be where the uterine tubes are going to connect. The lower apex is the internal os, and it's not a hollow cavity. It's just a space between in a non-pregnant uterus. So the cervical canal is going to connect the lumen of the uterus, right, which is like the lumen just means the inside part, to the vagina through the internal and the external os. Cervical glands secrete mucus that are going to prevent the spread of microorganisms from the vagina into the uterus to an extent, not like to a major extent, but to an extent. Also includes the secretion of the plug, the mucus plug, which will do quite a more thorough job of that during pregnancy. Here again is our graphic, which we talked about. So we'll just go over the structures we just talked about. So the fundus is like that kind of curvature of it. The body is like the main component. Here's the cervix, right, which is made up of the cervical canal where it thins. And then, of course, the opening itself, which is the cervix proper. Let's talk about epithelium. So skin cells, right? Yeah, remember when you were in bio, first year bio, and everybody had to do those cheek cells, and you stained them with like methylene blue, right? Or you like, it actually is the same as pretty much any of these other cells because these are squamous cells, right? This is squamous epithelial cells. Yes. Epithelial cells, right? I didn't really put the whole word in there, but there it is. So like they all look kind of like this all over the body. This is like the plan for how squamous cells look. And so if you were to take a pap smear, which is basically like you take a very elongated Q-tip and you kind of scrub and scratch a little bit around in the cervix region, you can then take it out and make a smear, just like you did those cheek cell smears, and you stain them. And we're really looking at a few things. Like we're looking at like nucleus size, position. We're looking at the way it looks in the cell, how much it's taking up, and then also if these cells are like discretely mitosed, right? They are its own cell, mature, taking up their own space, right? They're not really connected to anybody else, which is to a cancer type cell, a malignant cell, which is going to have the hallmarks of like rapidly dividing cells, so rapid that they're actually dividing faster than they are ready to divide. So right here we show these like huge nuclei, right? So here they are, super large. And then also these cells are like barely split off from each other before they start dividing again, right? So this is kind of like that's the hallmark of cancer in general. So this is what it looks like from a pap smear. Okay. So a pap smear is going to take these loose cells from the cervix, these squamous epithelial cells, and the vagina as well. And so you remove them, you swab it just like you did a cheek swab, and then you are to examine it under the microscope after it's been stained. The best protection against cervical cancer is early detection and there are vaccines. So there is that. And a little note on vaccines. Also, so human papillomavirus is a virus that can affect males and females. There for a long time we were only vaccinating females, but males will be vaccinated because they are still susceptible um, to cancer, right? This is a cancer, and it has been shown to show up in males. So let's protect everybody. 3 grades of cervical intraepithelial neoplasia, right? Neo meaning new and placement. So like this is referring to cancer cells. Class 1 is mild dysplasia, looking a little like out of place and abnormal. Class 2 is going to call for an actual biopsy to go in there, maybe try to see what's going on a little bit more clearer, remove whatever we're seeing, because it's not a blip. And then class 3 results for chemotherapy, radiation, and possibly removal of the organs and tissue. 3 layers of the uterine wall. There's the parametrium, the myometrium, the endometrium. The parametrium is on the outside, and it's actually like, it's like here. It's a uterus, right? It's like the outside layer, and it's kind of like a little more like protective more than anything. It's a layer, so it's a supportive layer. So the myometrium, myo meaning like the muscle layer. So this is where the uterus gets that like characteristic thickness, right? Sorry, I always like don't complete this, but there it is. So it's like this thick element right here, like right there, like that thick wall, that uterine wall. It's a muscular layer. It's going to contribute to things like contractions and cramps and supplying like large amounts of blood. It is mainly composed of smooth muscle. It is not voluntary skeletal muscle. No, it's they sweep generally downward from the fundus, so it kind of has like a downward element, and it has a spiral shape as well, as you would imagine. So it's right. So it's less muscular, more fibrous near the cervix, and muscles are really up here by the fundus and in the body. Uh, expels fetus. Sounds so rough. Helps deliver through labor contractions the fetus during the process of birth is what I would maybe have said. Okay, the endometrium is the inner mucosal layer. It's a lot of epithelium. It's a simple columnar epithelium, and it's very like it's supposed to nourish. It's compound tubular glands as well, because it is secretive, right? Mucosa, secretive, and a stroma that has a whole bunch of white blood cells of all types, especially, leukocytes, macrophages, they're all in there. Macrophages definitely patrolling the area, um, taking out rogue cells, taking out any like stray bacteria and all that. Functional layer is the superficial half, and it is shed with each menstrual period, which humans have. So humans have menses, which means that they are going to bleed every time they ovulate, like during the process. And that is not entirely unique to humans, but most, like a lot of animals, don't experience it. It's because humans actually need such a hot, the human eggs need so much blood right on death, right when they're in bed in the uterine wall, or they don't survive. And so we have to have so much blood to the surface that when it sheds, it just ends up being, a monthly period. So that's why humans have that. Basal layer, right? The base layer is stratum basialis. So the deepest layer, it stays behind and it regenerates a new functional layer with each menstrual cycle. So it's going to rebuild that layer. During pregnancy, the inside or the endometrium is the site of attachment of that embryo, right? It needs tons and tons of blood in order to do that. And it forms the maternal part of the placenta, which is the transition barrier to where we would be able to feed and nourish that developing fetus. So here's what it kind of looks like. So here's that surface epithelium right here, and that's going to be shed. Here's the endometrial gland, right here. It's making secretive serosa, or I'm sorry, secretive um, probably the weakest, quite frankly, because it's a mucosa mucosal layer. Here's the lamina propria, right? The It's like supportive transitional layer, which is what lamina refers to. All right. Okay, so that's the basics for that. And I hope that was helpful, and I hope you were out there somewhere having a wonderful day. Bye bye.